I'm out here in sunny Los Angeles for the week doing some interviews and seeing some music. Today's episode is with guitar legend Frank Gambale. These are some of the guitars that you've seen Frank play over the years, so I'm looking forward to discussing music and guitar with him. Here it is.
Frank, so great to be here, sitting next to you. I just heard Frank warm up. I thought, well, maybe I'll just have Frank just play the whole time and I'll just sit here and watch. Play me something that's hard.
Well, you know, certain arpeggios I find hard. Kind of like fourth arpeggio. I use it as a warm-up exercise. I clearly don't know what to do, but
and you use your pinky, for example, or if you don't have any problems with power with any of the fingers.
well, it's something that you develop over time, you know, and sometimes I play a note like this, you know, way down here, it's weird, but sometimes you have to if you've got a bar and it's for middle string. Start with a two, you know, never make it. It's a simple exercise. You roll, you just kind of roll so that each part of the finger, you know, coincides with a certain string.
You realize that people are influenced by you. There's just generations of people now that are influenced by the things that you've played and taught over the last.
And I'm still teaching. I have an online school where I still am writing courses that are really cool. You know, I believe in giving back and inspiring people wherever possible. You know, I think that's a really important thing to do. Yeah. You know, if I can inspire a young person to play the guitar instead of a video game, I'll be happy playing. You know, when I'm writing courses, I'm always into trying to find the easiest way to get to the result. You know, whether it's a technical thing or a harmonic thing, I'm always finding. I always describe myself as water rolling downhill. I always seek out the easiest path.
You have a lot of blues influence. You've always played blues and you play over really complex chord changes.
Yeah.
You do both.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that in 2019 it's more difficult for people to connect with, let's say, more harmonically advanced music than 30 years ago?
I still hear a lot of young, great musicians out there that are knocking me out. I don't want to get into name calling or anything, but, you know, there's always been crap and there's always been great stuff, and everything in between, right? You just have to seek it out. So I think, you know, there's a lot of great young musicians out there that are doing wonderful things. So I'm hopeful and cautiously optimistic that the legacies and musical instruments are not going to disappear. There's no replacing the guitar. Guitar sounds the way it does, and it's one of those instruments you can take anywhere, strum it and make music. If you want to go deeper, you have to know what is a C chord, what is an F7, and to try to make sense of music and harmony, take signals from her, if you want to do it. And I think you get a much deeper understanding when you do take it apart and have a listen. That's a big part of what you do with a lot of your videos. You go, well, why is this song good? You got to learn it. You gotta get into the nuts and bolts of music. And, go as far as you can. Push your understanding as far as you can. I remember after playing about 10 years of blues. Well, I played blues for 10 years solid, right? And I thought, well, after 10 years, I pretty much had it down, you know, at least as far as I wanted to go with it. And I love it. I think it's the way to learn, you know, the emotional music. You get all the subtleties, all the inflections, and you learn how to make your instrument. beautiful in that connection. There's so many sounds on the guitar, it's wonderful. And all those subtleties you learn from playing blues. So after about 10 years, they were mostly, 1, 4, 5, minor, or dumb. Then I thought, well, gee, there's got to be more chords out there, and I started hearing other kinds of music. I was always a big fan of vocal harmonies. A lot of the groups I was in back in Australia had, I was listening to Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Eagles, and, that kind of music really inspired me. It was beautiful vocal harmonies over the, it was kind of rocking, a little bit country, it had a bit folk. So I started to branch out a little bit, and I remember hearing Steely Dan the first time, going, wow, man, this is considered rock, really? With all these... That's rock, okay, then I'm digging rock, and that's the shit. That's the kind of rock I want to play, crazy song that is, that good lyrics. And I remember hearing this up and, it was so rich and full of harmony, and my ear just was drawn to it, because I wanted to know more about music, and I loved the bands that did some hip stuff that was different, I went into jazz a little bit, but not straight ahead. I kind of preferred the fusion thing. To me, I love the power of the rock. The sound of distorted guitar. This is not straight ahead jazz. What's interesting to me is like a lot of my records have had some very mixed reviews, especially by jazz critics. And it blows my mind that if I was to play a John Coltrane solo, note for note, this sound, they would be running for the hills and sacrilege! But if it's played exactly the same as on a saxophone, it's it's Coltrane, man. It's the pinnacle, right? And to me, it's utterly, completely stupid. It's just the timbre, the timbre, however you want to call it. It's the information that's important to me, not the sound of the instrument per se, but a lot of jazz critics are, they're purists, and for some reason the electric guitar is one of those instruments they're afraid of. It has to be like a jazz box, which I'm quite happy to play too. And that's why I always loved Chick Corea. There's very few of the great jazz legends that dig the electric guitar and its power and the way it can be used in a jazz fusion context. So to me, I love fusion. It was originally called jazz rock fusion because it had the jazz intellect, but it had no pop power. And to me, that's the best of both worlds. And that's kind of the music I play. So I wouldn't say I'm a jazz guitar player because I don't play standards all that much. I can play it, and I've studied it.
You've played some on records, like Stella by Stella with,
Sure.
with Alan and things like that.
I've done it. I've done it. It's not my forte, but I love to play changes. So whether it's on a clean guitar or on a distorted electric guitar, it's all the same to me.
When you started incorporating though these fusion ideas into blues, for example, when you were playing, how did you begin to incorporate that vocabulary?
Well,
or would you just play over?
No, I used it. I used my intellect a lot on the blues. Like for example, I have a blues course called Spicing Up the Blues, and one of the things I do in that course is I like to take it, make it a little more modern in places. And there's this corporation that everybody does. Before, and then the second time. Linear thing too, so I'll go. So I'll take the idea and I'll go, I'll take it with a linear thing too. So I'll use my intellect to take the scale, which is the same as playing A altered. It's
Yep.
a 4 chord.
Yep.
Or a half step. You can see it as a half step with a dominant. People do it with chorus, and then add a shadow, and I do it with lines. You know, I often use jazz blues changes, which is slightly different. You know, jazz blues changes are more like, instead of just the 1, 2, 5, we have this on the half standing up. Maybe it's a faster. A lot of chords, maybe 6 chord alternate, 2, 5 alternate, turn. So they add chords, but it's still basically a 12-bar blues structure.
But you were to demonstrate if you're playing over those changes, those extra changes.
Yes. 1, 2,
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. In today's episode, I'll be joined by our true guitar legend, Jeff "Skunk" Baxter. Skunk has the rare distinction of being in two of the most important bands of all time. He was a founding member of Steely Dan and then joined the Doobie Brothers at the pinnacle of their career. Skunk has played on some of my all-time favorite songs, and he's an incredibly interesting guy. Here's my interview. Skunk, welcome.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate your hospitality.
Okay, so I want to go back to the beginning and talk about.
Back to the beginning.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about.
Cretaceous era?
That's
we start?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, you talk about working in guitar shops, doing guitar setups, kind of take it from there on forward, and some of the people that you met during that time period.
Well, the good thing about working in any music stores, wherever you are, you end up meeting a large cross-section of the musicians in that particular area. And for me, probably the best experience was working at Dan Armstrong's shop on 48th Street, New York, when I was like 13, 14. I was working at Jimmy's music shop across from Manny's, and because I grew up in Mexico City, there was really nobody to repair guitars, so I kind of had to do it on the fly. And there was an elderly Mexican gentleman named Raul who had a TV radio repair shop. So I learned a little bit about electronics from him. And then my dad gave me the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers radio manual, which was the original, by the way, the original passive equalization circuit for Fender amplifier.
Okay.
So, you know, it's all related. It's all heuristic. So by that time, I was repairing guitars out of Jimmy's, and Danny noticed that there weren't any guitars coming out of Jimmy's, so he came, and at that time, it was $1.25 an hour was minimum wage. So Danny walked in, told Frank Squalacci that he wanted to hire me, And he said, I'll pay you $5 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, woo. Yeah, so okay, so I went up to work at Dan's, and everybody came in. That's why I met Russ Ball for the first time. You know, so we started to become friends. And the guitar players that came into that place, because we spent maybe 3 hours repairing guitars, and the rest of the time was in the front row playing.
Yeah.
So in the front room you'd find Eddie Deal, Sam Brown. I mean, you know, Eddie Deal's the best bebopper I ever heard in my life. These guys are just, and Danny was no slouch as a player either. So, you know, one day you walk out of the front room and it's Frank Zappa and Mike Bloomfield, and they're sitting around and they're, you know, everybody's playing and having a good time. And for Danny and Eddie, because I was a little snot, my job, he said, here, he handed me a Gretsch Tennessee that had 2 bass strings and 4 regular strings. He said, you're playing bass and comping chords. Because we're going to solo.
Yeah.
So I learned that technique. So later on when I did some work with Chet Atkins, his guitar something. Where did you learn how to do that? So I told him, he said, this guy was the only other guy I've ever seen to do that. So anyway, so any afternoon would be all these great players. So one day, Andre Segovia comes in because he's playing at Carnegie Hall,
Right.
and one of the tuning machines on his Ramirez had broken. And as you know, it's 3 on a side.
Yeah.
There's really nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really sure. We didn't have anything in stock, so I ran across the street to Charles Ponte, who was right next to Manny's, who was the cello and violin guy, thinking, you know, maybe. He had 1 set of 3 on a side. So I bought those, took them back, took the Ramirez back in the room, repaired it, strung it up. And meanwhile, it was Frank Zappa, Mike Bloomfield. I'm trying to think of the other guitar player. It might have been Sam Brown, I'm not sure. And they're all rocking away, all standing up and they're all having a good time. Mr. Segovia is just sitting there on the couch in front of me, very quiet. So I brought the guitar out. I said, hold on, guys, hold on a second. So I hand him the instrument. Sitting there, he tunes it up. He plays the first 64 bars from the Concerto d'Anna West by Rodrigo. And it sounds stupid, but it's like all the photons left the room except for Andre Segovia. I mean, this man, whatever was going on with this guy, there was something going on. He had an aura about him.
Right.
And everybody, the place got completely quiet. And then afterwards, he said, thank you very much, paid Dan, and then turned to me in Spanish and said, would you please tell them that you don't hang it around your neck like a canoe towel. You hold it next to your body because it's a part of you. It's right next to your arm. And I thought, yeah, I'll sit down. Works for me. I did have a knee injury and I did that for a little while. And when B.B. King had his knee operation, he said, Skunk, if I only known, I would have never started to play.
You were one of the only guys that did that.
And it's the way to play.
Right.
Mr. Segovia knows what he's talking about. And it is really the way to play. And I remember sitting down playing a lot, especially with the doobies, and getting a lot of crap for it. Said, that's no good, you gotta walk. Said, hey, you guys can do the trampolines, all that kind of stuff. My job, get a nice set of headphones, get a good mix, sit and play the guitar. That's my job. And it was interesting, it got more focused sitting down and playing than running around. And,
to me, that was a part of your thing, was that.
But I never really thought of it as a gimmick or anything. I thought that I will be able to do my best performance this way.
Other people that you met during that time period, you knew Jimi Hendrix, is that right?
Yeah, Jimmy James.
Jimmy James.
Right. Jimmy had a band called Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. And he came into Jimmy's music store with an old beat up Duosonic. I think he had just, if I'm correct, I think he had just done, he was playing with Joey Lee and the Starlight down at Peppermint Lounge. But I think he just got off the road with Little Richard. But he had this beat up Duosonic, cool guitars, but they were like Fender studio guitars.
Yeah.
And he wanted to trade it. And I had just put together a beautiful white Stratocaster that I had strung up, a right-handed Strat that I had strung up left-handed and insulated and everything for a person that wanted it, they never hadn't showed up. So it was sitting there, so I went, okay, I'll trade you even. So Frank and Jim Scolacci docked me 3 weeks' pay because they said that was not a good deal. And these guys are businessmen, I get it.
Yeah.
But Jimmy then invited me to come down to the Cafe Water, hear the band. Bass player was late, so I got a chance to play a tune. And after that, we became friends in a sense that, you know, you probably have friends that you don't see for a long time.
Yeah.
But as soon as you sit down with them, it's like timeless.
Yeah.
There were a beautiful white Stratocaster that I had strung up, put in a band called Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, and he came into Jimmy's music store with an old beat up Duosonic. I think he had just, if I'm correct, I think he had just gotten, he was playing with Joey Lee and the Starlight down the Peppermint Lounge, but I think he just got off the road with Little Richard. But he had this beat up Duosonic, cool guitars, but they were like Fender studio guitars.
Yeah.
And he wanted to trade it. And I had just put together a beautiful white Stratocaster that I had strung up, a right-handed Strat that I had strung up left-handed and insulated and everything for a person that wanted it, they never hadn't showed up. So it was sitting there, so I went, okay, I'll trade you even. So Frank and Jim Scolacci docked me 3 weeks' pay because they said that was not a good deal. And these guys are businessmen, I get it.
Yeah.
But Jimmy then invited me to come down to the Cafe Water, hear the band. Bass player was late, so I got a chance to play a tune. And after that, we became friends in a sense that, you know, you probably have friends that you don't see for a long time.
Yeah.
But as soon as you sit down with them, it's like timeless.
Yeah.
It's like what we were talking about entanglement with electrons. It's quantum physics, right? It's just, it's perfect. So the same thing as whenever we had a chance to get together. Very quiet, very pensive. First time I heard him play Will Cry's Man, I said, that's it. That's it. This guy has synthesized Little Beaver and Curtis Mayfield into a style of guitar that I will strive in any way I can to learn to play and to perfect and to take to the next step. But yeah, a very fine person. It was very interesting too because that was around the time of the Vietnam War, and Jimmy, I believe, was in the 101st Airborne.
He was.
And I mean, you're playing down in the village, and of course everything is, you know, rah rah rah, and hate the war and such. And every time they would try to engage him, he would just quiet. So I think he was a patriot. As a matter of fact, I think that's why he played the Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock.
Makes sense.
From the heart.
Yeah.
But the conversations were always about music. We're always about Fender guitars, next one.
What?
And to perfect and to take to the next step. But yeah, I will strive in any way I can to learn to play and to perfect and to take to the next step. But yeah, a very fine person. It was very interesting too because that was around the time of the Vietnam War, and Jimmy, I believe, was in the 101st Airborne.
He was.
And I mean, you're playing down in the village, and of course everything is, you know, rah rah rah, and hate the war and such. And every time they would try to engage him, he would just quiet. So I think he was a patriot. As a matter of fact, I think that's why he played the Star Spangled Banner. and listen
Makes sense.
from the heart.
Yeah.
But the conversations were always about music, were always about Fender guitars, and he had a very interesting childhood. Not easy, but he managed to find all the opportunities that you could find to play, and got involved with some very well-known people very quickly. So, anyway, I miss him. I think he was a very special person. He changed, got involved to find all the opportunities that you could find to play, and got involved with some very well-known people very quickly. So, anyway, I miss him. I think he was a very special person. He changed the world as far as I'm concerned. He, like Jeff Beck, was, I'm going to say is, because for me they are were. You never know where they're going. And to me, that's the hallmark. There are other guitar players, very well guitar players. You know where they're going, which is okay. But I like the idea of pushing the envelope a little bit.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. Of the people that regularly watch my channel, 58% are actually not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button now. This will help me to get even more of my dream guests and continue to grow my channel. Thank you.
We talk about improvising.
Yeah.
And why improvisation is important. And you had asked me how to do it. So I'll tell you the deep secret.
I was asking how you do it, because you have such a unique style of playing.
Thank you. I never really think about it, because as a studio rat, I mean, 1 minute I'm doing a Doritos commercial, and then the next minute I'm doing an album with Barbra Streisand, and after that a soundtrack for Jamie Orr. So I'm not really sure what style is where. You just call it. I give it a couple of guitar lessons. I suck at that. But somebody said, I did give guitar lessons for a month. Okay, out of Jack Stone Shop in Boston.
Nice.
And I only did one lesson. So here's the deal. I'm going to teach you how to sing to play the guitar. Because you can sing anything. Really. I mean, even if your voice sucks, that makes a difference. You can sing anything. Well, if you could translate that to your fingers, you have a built-in guitar teacher. And you listen to musicians like Oscar Peterson and stuff, you know what they're doing. They're doing it. They're singing it. That's what they're doing. And they have managed to connect that with their fingers. So if you just sit there, take 5-10 minutes a day, and just go da-da-da-da-da-da, just teach yourself to do that. 6 months you go do that. You're connected. So now you can phrase any way you want to, and you can, by learning the phrasing of other singers, and now being able to hear in a voice when you watch a guitar player play. Bingo. That's it. That's all you need to do. You just got to put the two together and teach yourself to do it. It's not hard.
Improvising was such a big part of being a session musician, because you would read charts, but
if there were 16 bars with nothing on it, yeah. I mean, if it's fly shit, I'm calling Dennis Brewer now. I'm trying to say that's right. But I could read okay because these guys like it's fly shit. Right. But yes, there are times when they say we just want you to do what you do. And you're right, improvising, and then you have to draw on, okay, now it's an analytical process. Do you repeat the theme as the opening piece? What is it about the song that you can use to relate your solos to, and still create a composition? Because I think every solo should have a beginning, middle, and a end. It should be a composition, even if you do it on the fly. Yeah. So, but I guess I'll take that as a compliment, because the improvisation part to me is the most fun. Obviously, I mean, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, I don't have to play this for like Doritos.